Okay, so I know what you're thinking. Whoa, girl, where are your brows? So that's what we're doing today. I'm gonna show you my current brow routine. So I feel like I have like three kinds of brows, like a super dark, intense brow if you're doing like an intense makeup look. And then I have like a super natural brow where, you know, you're not doing a lot of makeup and you want something super natural that's not gonna be like boom, brows in your face. And then I have something kind of in the middle where it's like, you know, I put a little bit more makeup on, but not like full glam, just kind of an everyday look. So I want a good staple brow, you know, something right there in the middle between 10 and 1. So that's what I'm going to show you today, is like my kind of go-to everyday kind of brow. If you guys want to see my current brow routine, then just keep watching. Okay, so when it comes to brows, what I want to tell you is do not obsess over brows. You know what I mean? Like I used to do that. I would just obsess over if they're like perfect, if they're twins. They don't have to be twins, guys, just sisters, distant cousins, whatever. You know, we're not perfect. What I do first is I brush all my brow hairs up, and I'm on the struggle bus over here. I mean, so first thing you do is just look at your brows and see what parts are missing. So for me, like this area is missing right here. This one in the front isn't as full as this one is in the front. So I need to keep that in mind. So that's the first thing you do, is just look and be like, okay, to make them look kind of symmetrical, what do I need to do to each one? Because both are different, you know what I mean? Like this one is more full, but this one's not. So just take a look at that. And also my brows are not completely the same height. They don't grow on my face the same way. So just take a look at that to see like this one needs to come down a little bit. This one needs to come up a little bit to make them look more symmetrical and even, although we can't make them perfectly even because that's impossible, but we can try. I do my own brows. I have not let anyone touch my brows in years. I do my own brows. So if you guys want a how I shape, wax, all that, my brows, then just let me know down in the comments and I can do that for you, and I can show you how I shape them and tweeze them, wax them, the whole thing. Since I do that, I know my brows pretty well. I know their strengths and their weaknesses and what this one needs and what that one needs to try to make them look pretty similar. So let's just get started. I'm going to show you what I typically use. So if I'm doing a superal, so if I'm doing a superal, did I just say it twice? Did I? So if I'm doing a super natural day, like just putting on some mascara and like highlight and like a very soft brow, then I will just use like a little angled brush. This one actually has a spoolie on the bottom. And I will just do like powder and just lightly fill them in just to give them a slight shape. They're not gonna be perfect, but that's okay on like a super natural day where it's like I have 5 minutes, you know what I mean? I do love to use a brow pencil also, any brow pencil. This is a ColourPop one. I like the L'Oreal Brow Stylist also. I do like to do just a brow pencil sometimes, but then what I also love is this Maybelline Tattoo Studio Brow Gel. Get out of here. This stuff is waterproof. It has a wand that looks like this. And I've seen people like review this product and take this brush and just start brushing it through their brows. Please do not do that. I don't know what kind of brows you would have to be able to just take this and brush it through your brows, but that is gonna make a mess. And this stuff is waterproof and it does not budge. So I like to just put it on my hand, use my angled brush and brush it in like that, because I think it does have some kind of fibers in it as well, so that helps to like fill your brows. And then sometimes I even like to use like a pomade like this and use the brush and do that. But for today, I think I'm gonna use the Maybelline Tattoo Studio, and this is in the shade medium brown. So with this, it's medium brown. I mean, my hair is brown, but I have some blonde at the bottom. And if you go too dark, I feel like that's when it looks like, whoa, brows. Like that's all you see when you look at your face. Just go really light with this and just do little strokes, and just keep in your mind to only fill where you need it. You know what I mean? That's how you can not go too far, because sometimes it's easy to just do too much and then you're like, whoa, holy cow. And then another tip that I have is to have a mirror like up close to you. Also have a mirror that's further away, and like constantly, you know, work in this mirror and then look at yourself further away and gain some perspective of what the whole face looks like, because when you're like zoomed into this, it looks one way, and then you look at another mirror further away and you're like, whoa, that's intense. So, and then also just constantly going in with the spoolie and brushing out. So I'm going to show you how I use this on my brows, and let's get started. I'm going to zoom you in a little bit. So the first thing I do is I get my angled brush that has the spoolie on the bottom. This is actually a Milani brush, but I have tons of little angled brushes. So I take some of this product and I like put a dot on the back of my hand. And it does dry quickly, so just do like a little, just dot it on your hand, and then you can always add more, but it does dry quickly, so sometimes it will dry before you get done. So the first thing I do is take some of this product like this on my angled brush, and don't get too much, we can always add more, go in lightly. So the first thing I do is brush my brows up, and then what I do is I always like to start at the bottom. So I will look at this brow and it needs it right here. So I start like right here in this kind of the middle at the bottom, and I build that little gap up right there that I have. And I'm using a very light hand because this stuff is very pigmented. I mean, look at it. So I don't want it to be too harsh. So then what I do, I know it's probably weird that I like swap back and forth between brows because my brows aren't perfectly, symmetrical across my face, you know what I mean? And I can only lift this brow, which is probably why this one's higher. If I could figure out how to like lift this brow on its own, I'd probably like give it a workout and get it up there a little bit, but I haven't figured that out yet. So what I do is I look at myself straight ahead, and I'm gonna do the bottom part of this brow to try to make them look as evenly placed on my face as I can. And this is gonna be different for everyone, you know what I mean? Like if you have perfectly placed brows and they just grow perfect on your face, then that's amazing. You don't have to worry about that. You can just fill them in. But everyone's different, and I feel like to learn that, you just have to sit down, play with your brows. Like before you wash your face at night, sit down and just play with them and see what kind of shape you like, see how thick you like it on your face, see, what each brow needs to look as symmetrical as you can. So I do like a little line under this one, and I'm just doing like this little area right here on the bottom. I don't work on anything else first. I like to get those looking as even as I can. I'm gonna pick up a little bit more, and I'll come back to this brow and I'll do like the bottom arch, which this one is fuller on the tail than this one. So I don't have to do much to the tail of this brow. It's this one that the tail is struggling over here. And just lightly fill in the tail. And this one, like I said, doesn't need much. So then I'll just look at my face in the faraway mirror, because I'm going from this one to this one. Look at myself in the faraway mirror. Okay, that looks good. Move on to this one. And I like a shorter brow, honestly. Like I know that your brow is supposed to end like here. I honestly like my brow to end a little bit before, because it kind of gives the eye a lift. And I've just figured that out because I play with my brows all the time and I shape them and wax them. So I just have figured out that I like a kind of a shorter brow, and for it to just kind of end abruptly. So, okay, once we get this tail done, then that looks good. So now this one is thicker on the outer tail than this one, but this one is thicker on the inner, so it won't need as much product here. This one's gonna need way more at the front because it's just naturally thicker. So then the next thing I do is work on the top, and then the last thing I do is the inner part of the brow. So let's do the top. Again, I'll go back to this brow, I'll look at myself far away, and I'll say, okay, this brow doesn't need to come up any higher. This one only needs to come down. This one needs to come up, and this one needs to follow its natural shape on the bottom, because I don't want it to come any lower. I just want this one to come up and this one to come down, pretty much. So this one, I'm just gonna follow its natural line on the top, and it's kind of sparse right here at the top of the arch. So that's kind of where I start, and I'm picking up a little tiny bit of product at a time. Like I'm not putting a lot on my brush, And I even kind of like swipe it downwards a little bit, like to get a little bit off of the brush, and just go in with a little bit at a time because you can always build it up. And I just do little hair-like strokes and just kind of flick it right where it's, you know, bald. And I'll just kind of create that arch that this one is missing. And I need some more product because, like I said, it will dry down. So I've used all the wet product that's there. All that's just from me like rubbing my brush on my hand. So I'll just take a little bit more, do a little dot on my hand because it does dry quickly. Because once this stuff dries on your brows, it's not going anywhere. Not till you get some like makeup remover or a wipe or whatever at the end of the day and wipe it off. That's the only time it's gonna come off. So I'll just finish this tail, and I will move my way down and just hit the top of the tail right there because it is kind of sparse right there. And this stuff is intense, but I just cannot understand why people take this wand and brush it through their brows. Like, this stuff is so intense, I can't imagine doing that. So that's why I always go in with a brush. It's way more precise. It's gonna look way better. Okay, so I'm pretty happy, and I like to like brush the hairs up all the time and see where they're gonna lay. And then at this point I might just fill in any like sparse areas that are in the tail and just use whatever's left over on your brush. You don't always have to go back and put more on. You can kind of just move it around, use what's on your brush. And I love this brow. I used to hate this brow. This used to be my bad brow, and now it's like quickly become my better brow. So the front of this one is still very sparse. We have not even touched the front. The only thing I did on the front of this so far is whenever I started right here, whatever was left over on the brush, once I deposited the color down in that gap that we had, I just kind of lightly did like a line right under here. So I haven't done anything to this whole front area of the brow. So then I will come do the top part of this brow and try to make it match this one, which is always the hardest part for me. So this one is thicker in the inner part, so I really don't have to do much there. I just kind of start and just make the shape of the top of this brow right here. So I always brush my hairs up because that's what I'm gonna do with my brow gel, and that's how they're gonna lay throughout the day. So brush them up, look at yourself far away, see what we need to accomplish, and then come in and do it. That's pretty much what I'm thinking in my mind this whole time. So again, I start like in the middle area, work my way out. You don't want to start right at the front because that's going to be way too harsh. So I do have to overdraw this brow on the top to make it match height-wise with this one. And this one I have to bring more down to make it match underneath. And that's essentially all you're trying to do when you're trying to make your brows sisters. Twins. We're trying to go for twins, but you know. And then this tail is very sparse. And then like I did before, once I get that line drawn, I'll just kind of flick through the tail and fill in any gaps because this tail is more sparse than this one with this brow. But not that brow. You always want to double check and make sure that they end at the same like space on your eyes because that can look weird if one's shorter. I kind of like mine to go kind of outwards like this. Okay, so now that the top is done, we can work on the inner part of the brow. Okay, so for the inner part of the brow, this one barely needs anything because it's more full right here. This one needs more filling in. So I like to turn my angled brush upside down where the long point is at the bottom. And what we're gonna do is get a little bit of product at a time, and we're just gonna flick upwards, mimicking our natural brow hair. So just get a little bit of that product, find where it's more bald. So mine starts way back here. It's just not as thick as the other brow. So it can sometimes look weird, like this one's more filled in when really it's not. It just has more hair. You know, it's just thicker right here. So we just have to fake it till we make it. So just start at the bottom and flick up all the way in. You want to go very light on that inner corner. You don't want to look boxy. And I'm constantly, if you notice, I'm constantly looking up close and far away. See what we're working with. And this brow in the front, girl, don't even get me started. I have a scar in my eyebrow right there, and it's actually a circle. When I was a kid and I got the chicken pox, I had a chicken pox right in my eyebrow, and I didn't know that you weren't supposed to scratch them, and I like scratched it a lot, you know, so it left a scar right in my eyebrow. But that's okay, we can cover it right up. I just do some little flicks right over it and it covers it right up. So it's just a tiny little circular scar that probably only I notice, but I try to make them come in the same, you know, distance. I sometimes struggle with that. I'll leave the house and you're like, oh my god, this one needs to come in a little bit. That could be just me, I don't know. Okay, so I see a little spot on top right here where this one's more sparse. So we'll just put a little color there. Problem with this stuff is once it's on there, girl, you better blend it quick. So always like step back, look at yourself. So then sometimes I will clean up my brows with like a concealer, and like this is the concealer brush that I use. It's an e.l.f. little definer brush like this. It's just flat. Some people like a smaller, more round brush. I kind of like the flat one because it gets right up underneath there, and this is the one I always use for my eyebrows with concealer. We can do it just a little bit and I'll show you. So I'll just use a little bit of concealer, put it on the back of my hand. And another thing I was gonna tell you is sometimes if you over obsess about your brows and you do them first because you're like, okay, they gotta be perfect. If you concentrate on them too much, I feel like that's when they don't turn out good. So like I used to do my brows first and then do the rest of my face, and I would just like obsess, are they perfect? Oh my God. And then I got to where, okay, I might like put my face on, and then before I do my eyeshadow, I might do my brows. And then I got to where I would do my brows absolutely last. Like I would do my whole face and then just at the last minute, do your brows. Cause it's like you're not even thinking about them. You're just, it's the last thing you do. And honestly, they turned out better because I'm not like focusing in like, oh my God, my brows have to be perfect, because you know, everyone wants that like Instagram brow, you know? So just find where at in your routine that it's best for you. You know, I kind of just change it up whatever I'm feeling that day, because I've kind of like let it go, and I'm like, don't, you know, overly obsess over your brows. It's fine. So what I'll do with concealer is I got the concealer right there, and I will just take this little flat definer brush from e.l.f. and just ever so lightly, you can kind of go more ham in there if you don't already have your eyeshadow on, but if you do have your eyeshadow on, you'll kind of just want to do a little bit at a time, just right up next to the brow, just to clean it up a little bit. But if you don't have any eyeshadow on, you can just go in and then just spread it all over your eyelid, and then you're primed and ready to go. So it just kind of depends. So I just pick up a little bit at a time and just ever so lightly run that right up underneath the brow, just to kind of clean it up in case you like made an accident. It's like a little eraser, and it just sharpens them up a little bit. And then just lightly like drag that down into your eyeshadow. And then you can always like go back in with your little eyeshadow brush and just, you know, smooth over it. But the reason I don't go in with a lot of product is because I don't want it to like screw up the eyeshadow that we did. Okay, so then I'll just do the same thing to the other one. Draw a line and then just kind of wiggle back and forth, and it'll just blend it out if you don't use too much. If you do too much, it's gonna mess up your eyeshadow if you've already done it. But if not, like I said, you're good to go. And doing this also gives like a nice kind of highlight to the brow. I see a hair and it's gotta go. You know, sometimes even one hair out of place can like screw up the whole look of the brow. Then the last thing I do is I go in with clear brow gel, or you can use the tinted brow gel. Sometimes I do on super natural days. I have this from L'Oreal. It's these Brow Precise Fiber Brows, and I have the blonde one and the dark brown one. or medium brown, I'm sorry. And this also has fibers in it, and you can just brush it through your brows, and your brows are gonna stay up right there where you put them all day long. So I might use like the blonde one in the front and then the medium brown on the outer tail, and then like maybe take a little powder and just fill in like a couple little gaps that I have and just call it a day. But if I fill them in and I want them to stay all day, this is the Anastasia Clear Brow Gel. Girl, you need it. You need it. I know you think you don't need a 20-something brow gel, but you do. And it lasts you for a long time, I feel like. But these brows are not gonna move. So I just brush them all upwards into place. So then I'll just brush all these brow hairs up and into place. And they're not gonna move all day. They will stay just like this. It kind of takes like a minute to get used to this. Like you can kind of feel that your brows are like hairsprayed, glued. What's the word I'm looking for? Set. Girl, they are set. So just everyone work with what you have. It's just makeup. You can wash it off if it looks horrible. Try again. So don't obsess over your brows. They are sisters, not twins. So let your brow gel dry, and then I'm going to show you how to maybe lighten up the inner part of the brow in case you went too ham right there. I'm telling y'all, it's super glue. You gotta let it dry. Okay, so if you feel like you went a little too hard on the inner corner, you can always like grab a face powder. This is the Maybelline Fit Me powder, and like a little brush and just ever so lightly kind of sweep over the front right there, and it'll just kind of tone it down just a little in case you went too hard, and then you can just kind of powder your face while you're here. Yes, this is a good powder. I like this Maybelline Fit Me powder to make it a natural fade, because naturally your brows are darker, thicker on the outer, and they start out really light, so you want to kind of mimic that whenever you're filling in your brows also. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe and hit the thumbs up. And don't forget to hit the bell so that you're notified whenever I upload future videos. Don't forget to hit the bell so that you're notified whenever I upload future videos. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!